Good afternoon, dear partners. Thank you for attending today's webinar. We will start in a few minutes, in a few seconds, I mean. Let's welcome our speaker from today, our very special speaker, Barbara Costa. Today's webinar is entitled UPORTO Internationalization Strategies for Education. Today's webinar is brought to you by the University of Porto, partner of the DEEP project. I am Liliana North, as you may know, and I work at the international office, and today I will be moderating this webinar. I will introduce you to the presenter shortly, although Barbara doesn't need presentations, of course. But some technical information first. We are live broadcasting and you are in participants mode. Please let it be like it is, otherwise it may have some interferences in the connection. The audio will be streaming out from your computer, and if you are having difficulties, please let us know in the chat room, okay? You may also need to unmute or adjust the volume settings on your computer. I would like to ask you also, please do not forget to sign the signatures list, okay, so that we can later on provide you the certificates. And please send us a scanned version of the documents by mail, okay? Some brief notes about our special speaker from today. Barbara has 20 years of work experience in international relations and cooperation in higher education. She is the director of UPORTO's International Office and member of the Executive Committee of the Santander Group of Universities. Under her responsibility, UPORTO achieved 133 Erasmus Plus funded projects, 25 coordinated by the university, and 46 Erasmus Mundus Action 2 projects, 9 coordinated by UPORTO, and 37 partnerships. Welcome, Barbara.
Hello, hi. After this very kind, nice presentation, I would just like to say that it's an honor to be here today to present you with the University of Porto experience in terms of our internationalization strategies linked with the Erasmus programs. And I say programs because, as you will be able to see, and also as Liliana already mentioned, we have been working throughout these last 20 years in different actions within the Erasmus program and in different Erasmus programs. The Erasmus Mundus, and also the Erasmus Plus. So let's start so that we can start our presentation. So I will talk to you about the strategy and also the project management here at the International Office of the University. And I would like to focus especially the benefits and the outcome, the importance of these projects for the internationalization process of our university. In my last slides, I will focus a little bit more on the funding opportunities that we have at the moment within the European context that are available for our partners beyond the European borders. So I will focus on these details, and later on, if you have any specific questions about the new framework or even about the options that I will provide you, please be my guest and just inform us, and I will be very happy to provide you more detail. But the first step, let's say, I would like to share with you a little bit of our history, just to provide context. So our ecosystem within the university involves 14 faculties, so we cover the most relevant areas within the higher education system. And we do have, within each faculty, we have integrated research units. Furthermore, we have 12 participated research institutes that my colleague Sonia Pereira will provide few details later on. And we also work in a very integrated manner with one business school, which is the business school from Porto, that links our university with 33 major companies. So again, as I was saying, a little bit of history. As you probably know, Portugal faced a huge economic crisis not so long ago. In that moment, of course, the funding from the government reduced considerably. And in that new scenario, the university had to make strategic decisions. And of course, internationalization was impacted, negatively impacted, as many other fields within the university, because of this reduce of governmental funding. So there was a pressure to improve our international performance in order to face the new challenges that the severe economic crisis was bringing to the university. And in that moment, we looked into the opportunities that the European Commission was providing to higher education institutions. So the Erasmus program, and particularly the Erasmus Mundus program, that's why I decided to only include the word Erasmus, were considered a priority and a strategic priority for the University of Porto to maintain the cooperation that we had so far. So the turning point for the University of Porto happened when at the highest level within the university, and I'm talking about the highest level because it was a decision involving the leadership of the university and also the faculties. The institutional engagement that we got from this new perspective allowed us to design a new strategy plus a policy change, and this constituted a turning point. So internationalization from that moment on is considered a strategic pillar and included in the university's main strategy. And this resulted in a change in terms of how the international office was reacting towards the existence of new programs. So we started a proactive approach in search of new funding opportunities. And that was our main task when considering the severe economic crisis. So the Erasmus program, as I mentioned in this slide, supported the strengthening of the university international cooperation, even within a very difficult, a very adverse context. So now I would like to go a little bit more in detail in terms of how the institutional impact of projects resulted at the University of Porto. And when we talk about institutional cooperation linked with the international cooperation, of course, we have to acknowledge that this is based on confidence and trust within the partnerships. So what we did at that moment, we shared expertise with our partner universities to understand how we could apply for extra funding and be successful. We also had to support our own profile outside our borders, outside not only Portugal, not only Europe, but even beyond the European borders. So we did a very important effort to increase our visibility and also our international acknowledgement. So these were let's say, the baby steps in order to prepare the university to a complete new perspective in terms of European funding. An internationalization process within a university brings increased responsibilities. We had to face new challenges and be able to address these challenges and overcome these challenges. And I always say that this is possible if we can reinvent ourselves. So we are successful one year, the following year we need to improve the way we work even more. So the constant innovation is very important, and a drive for excellence. And this is, I believe, a key aspect in the internationalization process. So the idea of having European funding to sustain, to support the existing cooperation within the university and even expand it beyond the, let's say, the traditional focus. We also thought about the multiple impact that this would bring, not only for the individuals involved in the process, so I'm talking about the students, the professors, the researchers, so the academic community, let's say, but also the institution itself. To have students from different backgrounds, from different nationalities, from different cultures, this diversity within the university would have been, as we will see a little bit later on in my presentation, a significant impact. And this changed, I can say now, this changed the way the University of Porto organized a few things within the class. Let's say the organization of the unit courses, the organization of the classes really had an impact because of all this diversity. And again, another kind of impact that was felt was on the society itself, the country and the region, the northern part of Portugal, benefited a great deal. So all these three dimensions were considered when we were preparing the first application to the European funding. What would be the goals that we would like to achieve, and then which impacts we must take care of, we must anticipate, or we must develop even further. So throughout the years, as I said in the beginning of my presentation, we were able to work with different generations, let's say, of the Erasmus program. So in the beginning, we had mainly let's say, the regular Erasmus, the most common and normal Erasmus, with a focus on the European collaboration. Then we evolved to not only the Erasmus, but also the Erasmus Mundus. And this brought a new dimension to the University of Porto, and it coincided with the economic crisis. So all of a sudden, the focus, of course, Europe was kept in terms of the main focus, but then the university opened up to the world because of the Erasmus Mundus program. And afterwards, so in 2014, we have the new generation of Erasmus Plus. And I believe that in 2 years' time, we will add a new information here in this slide, because the new generation of Erasmus is being created as we speak. So in 2 years' time, we will have another program, also named Erasmus. We will have another program that will stimulate the cooperation within European borders, but also beyond Europe, and with relevant partners from all over the world. So when we started, I remember that I felt just like this lady that you see here. So thinking, how are we able to do this? Well, this is quite normal. Everybody thinks the same way. The first few steps are also the most difficult steps. So it's normal to feel like that, especially when we look at the guidelines, and then we find out that there are some very difficult, complex words like, for instance, guidelines, effective cost, deliverables, reporting, unit costs, sustainability, quality assurance, everything we have as a goal in each of the projects. So I have to confess that I felt a little bit like this figure that you see here, like this lady that you see here, scratching her head. But my intention today is to say that this is okay. We just need to overcome this and really understand what the guidelines of the project means and how we can present a successful application. So we had a new paradigm within the university. We were asked to actively search for funding opportunities. So this was a top-down initiative. It was the university leadership, the vice rector at that time, delegated, of course, from the rector, but the vice rector asked us to actively search for the funding opportunities, to identify the best partners in Europe and beyond, to share knowledge and experiences, and the ultimate objective was to participate in new international projects, either as the coordinating institution or the partner university. So this was the new paradigm that we had to face. So when asked to find the best, the most suitable partners, we looked at what we already had. So we looked at the traditional partners, the partners that were our partners for many, many years. We also identified within these traditional partners those that were considered the strategic partners, meaning those partners that you have such a huge confidence and trust already that you feel that they can join you in a complete new adventure of preparing an application for European funding. But we also went beyond our, let's say, comfort zone, and we searched for new partners, partners that could bring a new knowledge into our cooperation, partners that, because of their experience, because of their know-how, could benefit our partnership. And ultimately, the idea was to strengthen the international cooperation with all these types of partners. Regarding the internal actors, so the searching for partners, it was, let's say, a drive to identify the external actors involved in a new project proposal. But then we had to look within ourselves, within our institution, within our academy, and understand who should be the internal actors involved in these proposals. In our case, we have a very devoted vice rector that coordinates the international cooperation. So the institution's leadership needs to be involved. It cannot be a decision only taken at the administrative level, at the international relations level. The institutional leadership needs to say, yes, the way forward is to search for interesting funding to sustain and develop our cooperation. But then we need the, let's say, the executive level. So we need the IRO. In our case here at university, I'm very happy to tell you that we have a very enthusiastic international relations office. I'm very proud of the international relations office because we have several colleagues that devote themselves, that are very, very committed into finding the best opportunities for the university, for the academic community. In our case, the International Relations Office is divided into 3 units. The cooperation unit that is responsible for all the bilateral agreements, all the contacts, all the, let's say, the link, the institutional link with the partner universities. We also have the mobility unit that is responsible for the incoming and outgoing mobility of students and staff. And then we have also the projects unit that is responsible to actively search for the funding that will then sustain the cooperation and the mobility. These 2 levels joined together in a working group that was created several years ago that joins academic and administrative staff members from all faculties. So This, I feel that this slide explains you better the way we are organized internally here at university. So we have the International Relations Office, the IRO, with 3 units. We have the Vice Rector that coordinates everything. We have local academic coordinators and also international relations officers from the faculties, from the 14 faculties, and then we build a working group. We call it GTSIM, that means Working Group for International Cooperation and Mobility. This group, and I say internationalization is a strong teamwork, I do believe in this. The key for success is teamwork, commitment and teamwork. And this group, this working group, really combines the 2 levels, the 3 levels actually, the leadership, the academics, and also the administrative staff. And then the International Relations Office works together with the faculties. There's another office, you can see it here, the Research Support Office, that Sonia will explain you later today a little bit more in detail. But I just wanted to explain through this slide that these 2 offices, they work together while separately, but they work towards the same objective, which is to reinforce the international capacity of the University of Porto. So, still in terms of internal actors, these the joining efforts is a sentence that really resumes what we do here at the University of Porto. We had to reinforce the collaboration that we had within our own departments. So, internationalization is no longer something that is of the responsibility, the sole responsibility of the International Relations Office, but it's a teamwork. So we involved the financial department, the legal department, the academic services, the IT system services, the communication office, and also the student support services. Just to give you a few details, I could add, for instance, the human resources. So these different offices and units were brought into the ecosystem of the projects. Not only they were asked to participate in the drafting or the implementation in most of the cases of the projects that we already had, but also they were involved in the brainstorming. And the fact that people feel they are involved in the process from the beginning, this gives them ownership. And when that happens, everything is smoother in terms of implementation. So I would say that this was also a key aspect for the successful results that the university has been acquiring in the past few years. So, how does the Erasmus Plus comes into action? Actually, this was an instrument, and still is today, a very important instrument to achieve the internationalization objectives. So if we look at a few of the objectives, like increase the mobility of students, reinforce the mobility incoming and outgoing also of staff members, increase the cooperation and the networking with relevant stakeholders and partners from Europe and beyond. If we think about capacity building initiatives or development initiatives, all these goals can fit into the Erasmus program. I usually joke that with Erasmus Plus, everything is possible. Everything is possible. So actually, I do believe that the Erasmus Plus represents a key instrument in terms of the internationalization process. And the result of all of what I've just explained you, so the internal brainstorming, the external the involvement of actors, really the proactive approach, this all resulted in 133 projects since 2014, the year the Erasmus Plus was launched. As you can see, we had in the first year 6 projects, but in this year, so 2019, we have 35. Each project has a length that ranges from 2 to 4 years. This means that at the moment, we have more than 80 projects running at the university, and projects that will be running even when the Erasmus Plus program ends next year. This slide is only intended for you to understand a little bit of the type of project. So we coordinate 25 and we participate in 108 partnerships in all major key actions. We have here key action 103, meaning mobility within the European borders, key action 107, international credit mobility, meaning mobility beyond the European borders. We see key action 1, Erasmus Mundus joint master degree, that are joint master programs built with European universities, but also with the participation of external entities. Key action 2, strategic partnerships. Key action 2, capacity building projects, and we have so many capacity building projects with Latin America, with Asia, with different targets, with different objectives, but very, very important to sustain, to maintain the collaboration with our partner universities that were built, let's say, within the Erasmus Mundus project in the past. We also have knowledge alliances. We were one of the 17 universities, European universities, alliances that were approved. So only 17 networks alliances were approved this year, and Porto joined one of the alliances that was approved. We also have sector skills alliances, policy reforms, framework partnership agreement, and One Sport. Not all of the actions are available for partner countries, so non-EU countries. I will go into a little bit more detail in the last slides. So again, through all these projects, the University of Porto reduced the dependence on government funding in terms of internationalization, in terms of international activities, and I'm only talking about this. And it was possible for the university to support the ongoing collaboration and to develop the ongoing collaboration beyond the traditional sphere, beyond, let's say, the comfort zone. For that, we applied for the Erasmus Mundus Action 2, and also the Erasmus Plus, as I already showed you. And the relevance of this internationalization increased through a strategic planning. So this slide is like a sum up of what I've just said. We had to have a strategic planning to design the internationalization strategy of the university. This also implied a change within the university. So the academic offer was reinforced and also our visibility worldwide. So our overall performance improved. And when we looked at the rankings, for instance, this is a nice indicator that really shows how the involvement in so many projects had as a result, a direct result, an increase of our international performance, how others see us. So we had a quite significant reinforcement of the cooperation with institutions from all over the world and also within our own institution. Just going a little bit into the achieved results, we had, as I've mentioned, an overall reinforcement of the internationalization levels. This translated into key actions, implied an increase in the number of students and staff mobility, incoming and outgoing, a larger number of international degree-seeking students also coming to the University of Porto, and as I've mentioned, the involvement in so many projects also allowed the acknowledgement of the quality of the university. As a second result, I would like to highlight the improval of structures and the organization. The fact that we were able to cooperate with so many universities, with so many realities, with so many partners. This allowed an exchange of best practices, not good, best practices, and with partners and other institutions and relevant stakeholders. And this had an impact within the University of Porto at different levels. It increased the quality, the competitiveness, and it fostered also our internationalization level. So in the final part of the slide, I also refer to the improvement of the institution's international reputation. As I've mentioned, a direct result was the rankings, so our positioning in terms of rankings. But the fact that we had new collaborations within the European context, but also beyond Europe with non-EU regions, and within all these new collaborations, we were able to have top strategic partners and new institutions coming to the, let's say, the cooperation ecosystem of the university. This allowed us to reinforce significantly our international reputation. Internationalization of education and training, and again, another impact. We were able to develop new curricula, and in this particular aspect, it's important to say that some of them implied joint programs. As I have showed you, we have 5 Erasmus Mundus joint master degree programs, but many other programs were not funded by the Erasmus Mundus joint master degree program, but still they are working. And these joint ventures do bring a new dimension in terms of internationalization to the University of Porto. An interesting result was also the reinforcement of the academic offer and the increase of English taught courses. Of course, that the majority, let's say, of our training, education and training within the university is in Portuguese. And we have so many Brazilian students from our brother countries like Angola, Mozambique, Cape Verde, East Timor, and so on and so forth. But still, the fact that we were able to develop English taught courses also opened the university to other regions, to other geographies, and this was very important. Academic openness towards internationalization. I mentioned this in the beginning of my presentation, raising awareness for the classroom diversity and to the need to adapt the teaching methodology. So it was important also to capacitate our staff, our own staff, and here you can see clearly the institutional impact, to prepare courses for global audiences, favoring pedagogical innovation. Our current vice rector and also the pro-rector for pedagogical innovation are determined to reinforce the offer of the University of Porto to face the current challenges. So you see, the fact that the university can still evolve in that sense and reinvent itself, it's very, very important. And internationalization has a key role to play in this process. Finally, internationalization of the university campus. The fact that we have so many students from so many different nationalities and cultures and backgrounds, we had to remove some of the barriers that we had towards internationalization. For instance, English taught courses. We had to prepare the staff for that, but also to create a brand new set of information in English, not only in Portuguese, but also in English. Even the infrastructures had to be adapted to some of the new, let's say, new student body. So the impact of Erasmus Plus at the University of Porto can be summed up in a few slides, but I believe this one resumes it all. So it has been a powerful instrument to promote change and to accelerate the policy reforms at the university. This means the modernization of processes and the removal of constraints, just as I anticipated, harmonization of internal procedures within the 14 faculties as well, and the promotion of a larger and more flexible institutional openness towards internationalization. So Erasmus Plus fosters new ideas and develops innovative actions within the university by mobilizing, by engaging professors, administrative staff, and students towards internationalization. I give you here two examples. Key Action 103 means mobility within the European borders. Key Action 107 means mobility for and from our partner universities. So this also represent an important instrument to engage the academic community of the university, not only the students, but also the staff. Now going a little bit more into detail on how we manage projects here at university. And I'm talking particularly about the managing of education and training projects, so developed by the International Office. When the new call is launched and the new Erasmus Plus call will be launched, we anticipate in October, late October, beginning November. So when a new call is launched, we analyze the guidelines. So we read it, and we read it separately. I read on my own, and two other colleagues also read the same document. We analyze the guidelines, and then we meet and we break down all the rules and the most relevant, the key information. Then we promote a dissemination within our own university. So we take the information that we extracted from the call, from the guidelines, and we communicate to the community, to the university, to the academic community, to the colleagues that work at the faculties, but also to the professors that are working on the field. So we organize info sessions in our 3 campuses and specific training sessions, if necessary, for our partner universities. The objective of all these efforts is only one: to generate new opportunities, to create new projects. So after this, when we get an expression of interest from a professor, from a dean, from a faculty, or even from a colleague from a different office, we provide a customized support. So we look into the guidelines, we identify and match the funding opportunities to the project ideas. You can have the best idea. If it's not considered a priority within the guidelines, there's no good reason to invest in preparing an application. So you need to match the funding opportunities with the project's ideas. I give you a direct example. A few years ago, a professor came to me from veterinary sciences, came to me. He was very interested in having a capacity building project in veterinary, but veterinary was not a priority for that particular region, but public health was. So I asked, what if we can link veterinary with public health? And the professor said, yes, of course, there's a direct link. So we started to prepare the application in this way. So the ultimate goal was public health. and the application was successful. So you see here the second step is the brainstorming, and the brainstorming joins the professors and the staff that can provide the technical support. So technical support means project's objectives versus priorities. And this also has an important aspect, that is search for the right partners. And sometimes the partner ranked number one in a known ranking might not be the best partner. You remember I explained in the beginning, we need to build trust and confidence among the partnerships, meaning that we need to search for the most adequate partner in terms of profile, but also a partner that you can trust to be able to do a good job in the project that you are preparing, and that is willing to do a good job. So we do help in this search. We also provide updated information. We fill in the documents regarding the institutional data and all the track records in terms of projects, previous projects. We also assist in the preparation of the proposal. So many times we help write the most, let's say, transversal sections, like the management, the quality, the dissemination, the sustainability. So those aspects that are not academic aspects, but more administrative aspects, that we know how we can explain it in an easier way in our application. So also in terms of the procedures related to the applications, we provide the documents and we serve as liaison officers with other departments. The final information that I would like to share with you in this slide is the critical reading. So after all this work, we come up with a document, and then a person that is not the person that is more linked with the writing of the proposal reads. And the idea is to have a critical reading. So put yourself on the shoes of the assessor, of the evaluator, and then explain what is not clear or what can be further developed or clarified. And this is a quality measure. So the support the International Relations Office provides. We communicate with partners, with our staff members, with our professors, and with the funding agencies, national or international. We also take care of all the contractual aspects, like the signing of the grant agreement or the partnership agreement. We also support the financial management. Some of the projects are managed entirely at the International Relations Office. Others are managed at the faculty level, but then we support the faculty, especially in terms of reporting to the funding agency. We also ensure the quality of the project, so the implementation follows what was written in the application, and we also provide support in terms of dissemination and sustainability. So the fact that we work together, side by side, hands-on, administrative staff and academic staff, allows us to ensure that both aspects are well described within the application. If we have a very strong academic staff that writes an excellent application in that perspective, but then it lacks details in terms of how you will do the implementation, how you will select, for instance, students, how you will disseminate, the application will not be successful. So we need these two perspectives. So again, engagement and commitment by the leadership, by the faculties, by the teaching staff. We provide a centralized technical support based on our previous experience and technical expertise. And then we also ensure the quality monitoring, because we need to make sure that ultimately it's a successful project that the University of Porto, the visibility and reputation of the university can be reinforced through each and every single project. Now it's time for the funding opportunities. In this slide, I would like to present you what is the current scenario. As I've mentioned in the beginning, we will have a new program, a new generation of the Erasmus program quite soon. So the next call will be launched in late October, beginning of November, as I've mentioned, and it will be still Erasmus+. So the information that I will provide you is based on the existing information, not the new call, of course, because we still don't have it, but at least I can share with you the framework that will be valid for the upcoming call. But as you see, it's between 2014 and 2020, meaning that next year the call will be launched to start in 2021 will be different. So this is valid in terms of funding opportunities during the validity of the Erasmus Plus program. So one more application, one more opportunity. And regarding this, we do have international and national perspectives, national and regional perspectives. It's within Portugal or within the northern part of the Iberian Peninsula, so not that interesting for you. So I will definitely focus on the international level. And here we have the national agency and also the European agency, the EACA. Both of these agencies are responsible for the Erasmus Plus. So within Erasmus Plus, we do have different key actions. I already explained a few of the key actions before. I will go into more detail now so that you can understand the differences, and I will focus only on the key actions that are available for our good partners beyond the European borders to join us in new proposals. So key action 1 is learning mobility. Key action 2, focus on cooperation. Key action 3 is policy reform. Also, we have 2 other actions that are within the Erasmus Plus, but they are not considered as key action. And I'm talking about Jean Monnet initiatives and sport as well. So, starting with key action 1. What key action 1 means? We have key action 103, that it's not here because it's not eligible, the participation of partner universities outside the European borders. So I will focus on the opportunities for our good partners in Latin America, in Asia, in the Pacific, in Africa. So key action 107, it's mobility between program countries and partner countries. The mobility of students and staff between partner universities, incoming and outgoing. Only European universities can apply to their Erasmus Plus national agencies. Other countries join as partners. For instance, the University of Porto this year had more than 20 proposals approved, meaning that different countries, more than 20 countries, were financed by the Portuguese National Agency to sustain the collaboration with our partner universities. Within this action, we also have another interesting opportunity, that is the Erasmus Mundus joint master degrees. This implies the creation of joint master programs, and only European universities can apply. It's a centralized action, so the application is sent to Brussels, to the EACEA. Other countries outside the European borders might join as partners, but we need to explain very clearly what are the added value, the advantages, the benefits of involving these partners. Key action 2, strategic partnerships in the field of education, training and youth. This action implies the development of projects towards the creation of innovation and exchange of good practices. Only European universities can apply to the EACEA. and therefore to Brussels, to the European agency. And we also participate as partners. Other countries might join as partners as long as they bring an essential added value. Again, within Key Action 2, there are several sub-actions. So I started with the strategic partnerships. Now I'm moving to knowledge alliances. This action involves the development of projects aiming at strengthening the innovation capacity and fostering innovation in higher education, business, and at a broader stage, the socio-economic environment. Only European universities can apply to the EACEA. Again, it's a centralized action, but other countries might join as partners, the same criteria, as long as they bring an essential added value that should be duly justified within the application. Key Action 2 has one of my favorites, I have to confess, one of my favorite projects, which is capacity building in the field of higher education. This involves the development of projects that aim to support the modernization, the accessibility, and internationalization of higher education in the partner countries. Both European and partner universities can apply as coordinators and join as partners. For instance, we coordinate a project called RECMAT, Recognition Matters, that aims at addressing the challenges related to recognition of mobility in Latin America, focusing on Brazil and Argentina. This project is coordinated by the University of Porto, as I've mentioned, but the fact that both countries, Argentina and Brazil, are involved, this allowed us to really extend the benefits of such project to many other universities within these two countries. So it is coordinated by Porto, but it could be coordinated by a different partner university from Argentina or from Brazil. So that's why I believe this is one of the most interesting sub-actions and opportunities within the Erasmus Plus for you to consider. Key Action 3, it's support to policy reform. A development of projects targeted at the achievement of the goals of the European policy agendas. Of course, this is very much focused on Europe. So only European universities can apply to the central agency, to the EACEA, so it's a centralized action, but other countries might also join as partners. Countries that can provide relevant input in terms of the European policy agenda. Jean Monnet. Probably some of you at least heard about all these actions. Jean Monnet is probably one of the most well known, and because it has been around for so many years. Jean Monnet provides the opportunity for the creation of modules, chairs, centers of excellence, support to associations, building networks, or even specific projects. But there's one common aspect. Activities should aim at promoting excellence in teaching and research in the field of European Union studies. And the goal is to reach as many countries in the world as possible. Also, I had a few years ago, I had a colleague from the European Commission here in Porto talking to us about Jean Monnet, and she showed a map with the countries that had Jean Monnet initiatives. And she said, well, the objective would be to have all countries covered, because this is an opportunity to really see how Europe can cooperate with all the countries in the world, also through Jean Monnet, but also through any other opportunities that might arise from the Erasmus or other programs. Both European and partner countries can apply as coordinators and also join as partners. So in case you have interest in this type of initiative, you can, on your own, submit proposals to have a Jean Monnet initiative at your own university. Finally, we have sports also. So the Commission also funds some activities, small collaborative partnerships. So it's not to organize a big event that you already have foreseen within your university. It's to develop activities and initiatives that will allow the development, transfer, or implementation of innovative outputs and to engage intensive dissemination and activities of new products in new and innovative ideas in different areas. It all needs to be related to sport and to physical activity. Only European universities can apply, but other countries might join as partners. So actually, one of the information that we got is that the cooperation with partner countries should be encouraged also within this target key action. I have to say that, well, probably you have noticed, we only have one project approved under this category. So this would be quite interesting for us to understand what other opportunities might be available for the upcoming call for application, also to explore the opportunity for sports. So this is my last slide. I do hope that you at least could see how we have evolved from the experience that we were able to gather all these years. As Liliana said in my introduction, I've been here for 20 years, so I'm a very privileged person that really participated in the way the university was able to reinvent itself. So now I believe it's time for questions, Liliana.
Thank you so much, Barbara, for your intervention. Well, as I was writing in the chat room, if you have some questions now, it's time to talk a bit more with Barbara.
I will ask Professor José Villalba. We have a question from him.
Right now, maybe one at a time if you want, you can turn on your camera, but please do not turn on everyone at the same time
to provide the system from crashing. So Professor asked, what's the difference between cooperation and projects unit, Barbara?
And projects unit, okay, so
let me turn.
Well, I was trying to recover my presentation, but I don't think I will be able to do so, but that's okay. So the oh, that's fine. Thank you very much, Liliana. So as you can see, Liliana is sitting right next to me. So the idea of having two different units, one devoted to cooperation and the other one to projects, is that the projects unit correspond to, let's say, an instrument to allow the cooperation to flourish. So the cooperation unit is responsible for all the bilateral agreements, for all the links with the partner universities, and also with the, thank you, Liliana, and also with, for instance, institutional visits, incoming, outgoing institutional visits. So actually the projects are have the responsibility to identify the best opportunities to provide options for the mobility and for the cooperation unit. I hope I was able to answer your question.
Thank you very much. Now
we have a question from Universidad de Cuyo, Nacional de Cuyo.
Could you please explain more about the GTC group that you mentioned when you presented the international office?
Thank you. So, GTC, it's a working group for international cooperation and mobility. This is a forum for discussion, for brainstorming. It allows people from the academic sector, from the administrative sector, to join together and brainstorm about the internationalization strategy of the university and how to better implement the actions that will contribute for this internationalization strategy. So in the slide that I have here, you see the vice rector that actually represents the leadership, sets the internationalization strategy. But then we need concrete action to be able to bring into a reality what is designed in the strategy, right? So the fact that we do it together with the 14 faculties allows us to streamline everything, to harmonize procedures, and most importantly, to involve people in the process. So whenever we have a meeting, and we have a meeting every 3 months, at minimum 3 months, every 3 months, we join one administrative staff minimum and one academic staff per faculty. So times 14 faculties. And we also have one, well, I coordinate these meetings together with my colleague, Luisa Capitão. She's the coordinator of the mobility unit, and with colleagues from the International Relations Office. Sometimes colleagues from the mobility unit, sometimes from the cooperation unit, sometimes from the projects unit, depending on the topic that will be addressed, the agenda as well of the meeting. So the GTC, the working group that we created at the university many years ago, before I was even director of the office, this working group allows us to build the internationalization activities together. They are not imposed. They are the brainstorming, and the results allow us to have a best outcome. So it's not imposed, it's decided, commonly decided. I hope I was able to answer your question.
Now we have
another question from Fundación Universitaria Empresarial, Uniempresarial. Could you talk us about your experience in projects, the experience of the University of Porto, in projects, cooperation, or funds for research, for example, on Horizon 2020?
I guess this question will be answered tomorrow.
It will be my colleague Sonia. She is the director of the office that is in charge of the research projects. I briefly showed you, let me see if I can get it. I briefly, oh, here it is. Here you can see the International Relations Office. I'm in charge of this together with my team. We take care of all the opportunities and activities related to education and training. But within our university, there's a second office that is the Research Support and Project Management Office that only deals with R&D and structural funding. So meaning that this second office is responsible for all Horizon 2020 and other research initiatives within the university. So I'm sure you will like to know Sonia and understand a little bit better what she's doing here.
Thank you, Barbara. Now, from Universidad de Santander, Vanessa Ibanez. We know the universities, European universities, apply to PA 107, International Credit Facility. But as Latin America University, what can we do to be included?
That's a very good question. I was actually hoping that someone would ask that to me. It's very important to understand that you need to be visible for the European partners. If you already have your strategic partners, if you already know your partners, you need to let them know that you are interested, but most importantly, that you are willing to cooperate under international credit mobility. I can give you my example. Sometimes we get information from our national agency saying, well, this university from this country showed interest in collaborating with Portuguese universities. Because the University of Porto already has partners from most of the countries that are covered by the international credit mobility, we usually disregard this type of information. But when we get a message from my colleague, João Roberto, from that particular university that contacts us saying, well, Barbara, or well, Liliana, or whatever, now that we have been working for a few years, I believe we could also jointly prepare an international credit mobility application. This shows that you are traditional partners, even if it started only 1 or 2 years ago, that you are interested in moving forward in terms of the institutional relation, that you are able to participate in the preparation of the proposal, and not only to send a few figures or a few information about who is in charge at your university, who will be the legal representative or other key aspects, but a little bit more. So this immediately makes your institution quite interesting for the European universities that are preparing the proposals. So my suggestion would be to start with the partners that you already know, and most importantly, that already know you. And then you can also use it as a reference for others. Imagine you can have a key partner from France and say, we also have other partners in France, but we choose to work with you. This means full commitment, because the universities compete within the country. It's a decentralized action, meaning that we compete with Lisbon, with Aveiro, with Algarve, with Minho, and so on and so forth. But we do not compete with Madrid, neither with Bologna in Italy, or with Paris in France. So you can address different universities, your partner universities, from different countries with a very clean, straightforward, and kind message saying, I'm here and I'm available to work with you and to jointly build a good proposal.
Any more questions? Maybe we are about to finish
our webinar for today. I would just like to remind you once again that we
need the signatures list to comply with the
rules of the coordination.
And maybe we can turn on our camera so that we can see each other. We forgot
on Monday, it would be nice.
Yeah. I can see Paola.
Paola, está a pergunta logística. Please, Paola, let us know. In which faculty will the activities be carried out from November? In November. Oh, about the study visit. It's from
the 11th till the 15th of November here at the rectorate. Okay, we will meet you today during that week, and we are arranging the program so that you can see the campus, but it's not possible to see the whole campus because the university is divided in 3 campuses. You will have the opportunity to know our structure, as already Barbara showed during that week. You're welcome.
Well, I can see Juan Luis Merega now. Well, I think we are done for today.
Yes.
I thank you very, very much. And we are fully available in case you feel we can be useful in some way. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Goodbye. Have a nice day.
Vou desligar.